Are you fat? I know the reason why. White people. Yeah, sorry whiteys. You f***ed up. Welcome back to another episode of Community Post Discussions, where I take some of the most viral community posts that I have on the page and turn it into a discussion and we talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's just get right into it.
I'm gonna prove to you why white people are the reason I'm fat today. If white people didn't go looking for spices, then various sea routes to Indian subcontinent and Africa and other places of the world would not get discovered. And if they didn't get discovered, then East India Company would never come to Indian subcontinent. And if they didn't come, then the fertility of the land would not get destroyed because they forced us to cultivate tobacco and dyes and opioid, things like that, and that destroyed the fertility of my country. And then if that didn't happen and if they didn't exploit and extract resources.
All right, so let's be really honest and really frank about a couple things. First one being, at what point does the victimhood mindset die? When does it end? Listen, without giving away my political leanings, based off of this video and every other video on my page, you can probably figure out where I lean politically, excuse me. But I have a question for those that would consider themselves far left. As always, these are an open forum styled video, meaning that I'm here rambling, yes, but you're more than welcome to jump into the comment section and talk about it too, because that's the goal. The goal is to create conversation. Honestly speaking though, I don't even know if this needs a conversation, because to blame white people for the fact that you're overweight is insane to me, especially as someone who used to be 260 pounds and lost 100 of those pounds in a matter of 9 to 12 months. Here's what confuses me the most. Where was this theory when I was younger? Like, when people were trying to figure out what caused obesity, people were finding out scientific terms, people were figuring out what the body was doing that would encourage it to retain fat. Now, as a personal trainer, I've been a coach now for about 12 years, I've seen a whole host of fat people. I've seen a lot of different fat bodies. Some have, lost the weight and have kept it off. Some have lost the weight, brought it back, and it stayed. Some just never lost the weight to begin with. However, one thing that I've noticed with all of these people is that they were willing to take accountability for the shape that they were in at that time, which I find very perplexing for other people. I think mainly like millennials around my age or Gen Z. We have this thing where we don't want to have accountability for like for nothing. And where I really see this that it wasn't apparent in everything else that's on media. How do I say this without getting demonetized? Y'all are pathetic. The best way I can describe anyone who is willing to openly blame white people for their own fitness shortcomings would be pathetic. Because it is. I mean, again, going back to what I asked before, when does this shit end? Like, do you ever figure that, maybe you are just kicking this bullshit can a little too far down the road? Like, at what point do you say, okay, let me stop fucking around, figure out what's going on in my life, and then, do what I have to do to get there? Because one thing that I find very perplexing is that although people blame white people for being overweight, hence also that was the post that I put up, as if that wasn't apparent enough. Although people blame white people for being overweight, you still have to chew the food. You have to eat it. And then on top of that, you have to not do exercise. You have to be lazy. Which is why I would consider someone who blames white people for their obesity as pathetic. Because it is. This is what really grinds my gears. The fact that people agreed with the post. Now, as you already know, I take some of the most outrageous comments that you guys leave in the community post, and I talk about it. We got a couple fucking comments to talk about. We've got numerous comments, and I'm going to try my absolute best to address all of them. Again, I encourage you, whether you agree with my opinion or you're a contrarian, I invite you to the comment section. Join. I'm not saying this just for engagement's sake, although it is nice. I'm inviting you to come join. Let's talk about it because I want to elevate the conversation. Listen, a majority of us spend way too much time in echo chambers. And although some echo chambers, at least in my opinion, can be intrinsically correct or factual to say the least, there are a number of them that could use some sort of debating. This is not one of them, but nonetheless, keeping it as cohesive as possible, I invite you to come comment. Man, some of y'all are, like, I don't want to say you're dumb, but your brain is definitely smooth. So we've got a person here that goes by username Kickston Jordan 9521. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for commenting. He says, she says, they say, whatever. Enter, whatever you like to call yourself here. They go, she has a valid point. No, the fuck she does not. She does not have a valid point whatsoever. Because again, regardless of who makes the food, no one is forcing you to eat the food. No one is putting a Draco to your head and saying, if you don't eat this, I'm gonna spray your cabeza all over the floor and turn you into a street taco. No one's saying that. When is enough enough? How long can the victim card go on for? And I think this is a larger discussion in just accountability, but more so just, trying to eradicate the victim mentality from this earth. Because in my personal opinion, and listen, I've been a member of both of these communities. And I say that in past tense for a whole nother conversation, which is definitely not suitable for this channel. I mean, then again, maybe it is. But anyway, to give you the skinny, I don't call myself black, I'm Haitian American. To be more specific, I'm Franco-Haitian American. My parents came from France and Haiti. Black is not a country. Again, another topic for another conversation. Let's move on. Listen, two cards that need to be destroyed from society. It's gonna be the victim card and the race card. These two cards need to be absolutely eradicated from our society because it is enough. Enough already. How many white people are going to get blamed for the fact that you cannot stop putting the fucking fork in your mouth? Can you imagine? Like, when I was overweight, the last thing that ever entered my mind was like, you know why I'm fat? It's these goddamn white people. That's why I'm fat. It's my goddamn white friends. Granted, shout out to the moms because they definitely did make some banging food. But even then, I didn't have to eat the food. Like, I didn't have to eat the shit. But am I gonna turn down shrimp fettuccine? No. Am I gonna turn down shrimp Alfredo? No. Am I gonna turn down garlic bread? Honestly, it depends because I like my garlic bread really, really toasted, and it's also gotta be cheesy. Like, it can't just be garlic bread. There's got to be some cheese element to it, in my opinion. Other than that, then it's like, it's just bread with garlic on it. That's just my opinion. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is, food comes from everywhere, right? I mean, as if we don't know this. Like, we know you can find food literally everywhere on this earth, but that doesn't mean you have to eat it all. People can make chocolate. They can eat their McDonald's. They can make their McDonald's, but that doesn't mean they have to eat it. You don't have to eat it either. And I just find it so perplexing. Like, instead of taking the time to sit down with yourself and think, okay, what is something I know I'm doing wrong that I should stop doing? Because if I were to stop doing it, I can go further in my life, whether that be health, finances, relationships, work, whatever the case may be. But if you consistently look outside of yourself and place blame on things that are beyond your control, like white people at a fucking food processing power plant. Really? You're gonna blame your laziness and your lack of work ethic on fucking Todd and John, who are literally just working to provide, ironically enough, food for their family? And for the white people that are fat, who do they blame? Other white people? Make it make sense! I just don't understand it. But anyway, that was one comment. Let's go over two more. Let's see. Oh, so here we go. We'll continue with the same comment from before. Also, sorry if this video is just a little scatterbrain. When I make community post discussion videos, I never do it with any sort of like foresight. This is like a genuine reaction that I have. So at the very least, I hope you appreciate the authenticity. There was a woman who, I'm sorry for assuming genders. There's a human. There's a human in the comment section that continued on with the prior comment, which said that she had a valid point, which she fucking did not. But this person goes by the name of Laura, which, I mean, we can kind of guess what name that gender belongs to, but just in case this person is of the variety that likes to be mysterious, we'll leave it at that. So they go, environmental racism. Oh my God. I didn't read this at first, to be honest. So this first sentence is fucking holy shit. Anyway, environmental racism and classism. Well, it does have an impact. Okay. There's also a person's part to play, but I mean, yeah, it can be a factor. So yeah. Anyways. First of all, Laura, your comment didn't even fucking make sense. Not an ounce of that was intelligible. None of it was coherent enough for me to even assume your theory beyond you just blatantly agreeing with this person here. It does not make sense. Environmental racism? Environmental racism? What is environmental racism?
Here's some information. One moment.
All right, well, one of y'all gonna have to... All right, according to The Watch, environmental racism, ecological racism, or ecological apartheid is a form of institutional racism leading to landfills, incinerators, and hazardous waste disposal being disproportionately placed in communities of color. Not once have I ever seen a power plant in the hood. Listen to me. I live in New York, where there is at least a bodega every 3 blocks, every 2 to 3 blocks. Matter of fact, where I am right now, there's a fucking bodega right down the block. You know what that bodega has? It's got vegetables, it's got eggs, it's got butter, it's got bananas, it's got fruit. It's almost like they have natural foods as well as processed foods. Interesting. And here's another thing. Newsflash, you don't have to buy processed foods. And if you really want to get technical, if you want to go all social racism, this, that, and all that woo-woo, if you have, I used to work at Western Beef. So when I was a cashier at Western Beef back in the day, it was hood adjacent. The location was, not me, but the location was hood adjacent. And, you know, I spent my time dealing with, you know, lower income families. And obviously, as I'm scanning their food, you know, I'm conversating. I'm like, not that I wanted to, but I'm learning shit. Again, not that I wanted to, but I'm learning it. So I learned that with an EBT card, you can get hot food. Guess what? Some hot foods can be healthy. That means, at least in my mind, that means you probably have access to cooked poultry, cooked meat, and some hot dishes that could be relatively healthy. With all that being said, guess what? At the end of the day, the only way you gain weight is when you overconsume in calories. So whether the food be natural or whether it be processed, you still have to do the eating, the ingesting, the digesting, the chewing, the, I guess you could say assimilation once the body absorbs the nutrients. And then you have the excretion part. Yeah, all of that is under your control. So even if a white person like Todd and John from the power plant made the shit and put it on the plate and then put it on the table, you still have the option to not eat it. So I don't understand where we get this blaming from. And honestly, man, it has to be hard being white in today's day and age because y'all get no breaks. I know right now there's a lot of people that are like, oh, but Serge, how can you be saying this? You're brown. Listen, man, I am still one of those few individuals who don't see color. I actually see intellect, which there isn't a lot of in today's society. And that goes for everyone. You know, like there are dumb and smart versions of just about every ethnic group that we'll find on this earth. But beyond all that, you guys gotta look beyond the color, man. Like you gotta look beyond it. Some shit that's happened in the past, you gotta get over it. Like you have to get over it because to perpetually blame white people for your shortcomings, whether that be financial, food, work, relationships, And if we're talking about relationships, the same thing can be said for certain white males because, and this is just me being honest, listen, if I'm shooting shots one way, I gotta shoot it too. I gotta shoot the other way. There are some white males out there that don't like the fact that some women like a little bit of chocolate. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Look, brother, whether you like chocolate or vanilla, it's all a matter of preference. You shouldn't be upset about it. And in the same vein as to when people of color should not be blaming white people for some things, most things, probably all things, I don't think white men should be mad at white women for dating guys of the chocolate variety. This is definitely another conversation for another day, but I definitely wanted to talk about this. Blaming white people that you're fat does not help you in the long run at all. Not even close. Not even close. Because you know what? You're still going to be fat. You could spend your entire life blaming people. And this is just talking about accountability. Men, women, Transformers, we can spend our entire lives blaming people for our shortcomings. But guess what? Our shortcomings are still our responsibility. When I was overweight, I didn't blame anybody for me being fat. Motherfucker, I ate the food. I drank the drink. I was all up in the videos. Shout out to you if you know where that's from. But then I also made the conscious decision to say, you know what? I need to lose this weight because I feel like a fat piece of shit. And I don't like breathing heavy walking up the steps. At the time, I was only 26 and I was 260 pounds. Something definitely needed to change. Otherwise, I'd be going on a crash course with my health. But now imagine, instead of me making the improvements, I decided to blame people. I blame my ex, I blame my job, I blame my parents, I blame my friends, I blame white people for the fact that I couldn't lose weight. Where would I be today? I don't know, but I like where I am because being able to take accountability for my actions, and you know what? More so than that, being responsible for how I react to some things that may not be in my control, ultimately gave me the tools I needed to control my destiny. And I gotta say, I kind of like where I am right now. So anyway, that was it. Yeah, I got nothing else for you. That was it. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been overweight before? And if so, what were some of the things that you did in order to lose weight? Other than that, feel free to leave your comments below. I guess another question would be, listen, if you're white and you're overweight, who do you get to blame for being overweight? Do me a favor, we're trying to hit 10K, all right? I need you to like, share, and subscribe to these videos. Engage. I got a nice face, man. I'm friendly, I'm approachable. Look, if you want to comment on some shit, comment on it. Don't be afraid. I don't bite. Ladies, unless you ask. Anyway, I'm out of here. Peace.